The morning sun had barely risen over the small farming town of Millfield, Texas, when 72-year-old farmer Walter Hayes stepped onto his porch. Walter wasn't a rich man. His farmhouse was old. His pickup truck had more rust than paint. And his clothes looked like they had survived 20 harvest seasons. But there was one thing everyone in town knew about Walter Hayes. He never gave up. For over 40 years, Walter had worked the same piece of land his father left him. Every fence post. Every tree. Every acre of soil carried memories. To Walter, the farm wasn't property. It was family. Unfortunately, not everyone respected that. Especially Sheriff Brian Collins. Brian was known for being arrogant. He loved power. And he enjoyed reminding people that he was the law. For years, he had been trying to convince Walter to sell his farm. The land sat directly beside a new commercial development project. Developers wanted it badly. But Walter always refused. "No amount of money can buy memories," he would say. That answer drove Brian crazy. One afternoon, everything changed. Walter was repairing a fence when two sheriff vehicles pulled into his driveway. Brian stepped out with a smirk. Behind him stood 3 county inspectors. "Mr. Hayes," Brian announced loudly. "We've discovered multiple violations on your property." Walter frowned. "Violations?" Brian handed him a thick folder. The list seemed endless. Improper fencing. Equipment storage issues. Drainage concerns. Permit violations. The total penalties added up to nearly $50,000. Walter's hands trembled. "50,000, he whispered. Brian smiled. "You have 30 days to pay." Walter knew exactly what this was. Pressure. Pure pressure. The sheriff wanted him gone. News spread through town quickly. Some people felt sorry for Walter. Others assumed he must have done something wrong. After all, why would the sheriff target an old farmer? Days passed. Then weeks. Walter sold equipment. He emptied savings accounts. He even considered mortgaging the farm. But it wasn't enough. One evening, Walter sat alone in his barn. The stress had aged him years. For the first time in decades, he wondered if he had finally lost. As he looked through old boxes searching for financial records, he discovered something unexpected. A dusty metal container hidden behind a wooden beam. Walter frowned. He didn't remember putting it there. Inside were dozens of old documents belonging to his late father. Tax papers. Land surveys. Letters. Then he found a sealed envelope. Written across the front were 5 words. "Open only if necessary." Walter slowly opened it. Inside was a yellow document dated 46 years earlier. At first, it looked unimportant. Then Walter noticed a county seal. His eyes widened. He read every word twice. Then 3 times. And suddenly, everything made sense. The next morning, Walter drove into town. Instead of heading to the bank, he visited an attorney named Rachel Morgan. Rachel carefully reviewed the document. As she read, her expression changed completely. "Walter," she said quietly. "Do you realize what this is?" Walter nodded. "I think I do." Rachel leaned back in disbelief. "This changes everything." 46 years earlier, Walter's father had signed a legal agreement with the county after donating a large section of land for public roads and emergency services. In exchange, the county granted permanent protection status to the remaining family farm. The agreement clearly stated that local authorities could not impose certain development-related penalties against the property. The protection had been forgotten over time. But legally, it was still valid. And every violation Sheriff Collins had issued fell directly under those protected categories. Not only were the fines invalid, they were potentially unlawful. Rachel immediately filed a motion with the county court. Within days, the case attracted attention. Developers became nervous. County officials started asking questions. And Sheriff Brian Collins suddenly wasn't smiling anymore. The hearing was scheduled for the following week. The courtroom was packed. Farmers, residents, business owners. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Brian sat confidently at first. He believed Walter was simply delaying the inevitable. Then Rachel presented the document. The room became silent. Every page was displayed before the judge. Every signature verified. Every county seal authenticated. The judge spent nearly 20 minutes reviewing the agreement. Finally, he looked directly at Sheriff Collins. "Did your office verify the legal status of this property before issuing penalties?" Brian hesitated. "No, Your Honor." The judge's face hardened. "So your office imposed $50,000 in fines on a protected property without reviewing binding county agreements?" Brian had no answer. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Things became even worse when internal emails were introduced. The emails revealed repeated discussions between developers and members of the sheriff's office regarding Walter's land. The implication was impossible to ignore. Someone wanted Walter pressured into selling. The judge immediately dismissed every fine. But he wasn't finished. A formal investigation was ordered. Within weeks, the county discovered multiple procedural violations connected to the case. Sheriff Collins was placed on administrative leave. Soon after, he resigned. The developers quietly withdrew their offers. And Walter Hayes kept every acre of his farm. But the story didn't end there. Months later, the county honored Walter's father publicly. Officials recognized his decades-old land donation that had helped build roads still used by thousands of residents. A memorial plaque was installed near Town Hall. Walter attended the ceremony. As he stood before the crowd, someone asked him how he felt after everything that had happened. Walter smiled. The same calm smile he always had. Then he said something nobody forgot. "People think power comes from a badge, money, or influence." He paused. "It doesn't. Real power comes from standing your ground when everyone expects you to surrender." The crowd applauded. And for the first time in a very long time, Walter felt at peace. His farm remained exactly where it belonged. Not because he was powerful. Not because he was wealthy. But because one hidden document preserved the truth. And in the end, the truth was stronger than every lie built against him.